everyone. Who wants breakfast? Welcome to the Radical Geek YouTube channel, where every week we upload videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes Monday slips to Tuesday, and we always host a live stream on Sunday evenings called Coffee Talk, where we brew a warm beverage and then chat amongst ourselves and often demonstrate a ketogenic recipe. Now, yesterday I did a video where I showed you some homemade enchilada sauce, and I threw around some ideas about things we could do. But actually this morning I woke up thinking about how delicious it was, and I thought, you know what we really need is breakfast. And a couple live streams ago I made the egg white crepes with the lemon curd, but in other live streams the subject came up that people wanted to see the egg white wraps from Indigo Nili once more. And so it just seems to all come together, doesn't it? So let's get started. What I've got here is my egg white powder. And I believe this batch is actually the Now brand. I bought it in like the big giant 5-pound tub because I use it quite a lot. I use it to supplement my my keto chow shakes. I use it to make egg white bread. I use it for these crepes, obviously. So it's a pretty versatile thing. Large quantities. I know that Keto Chow has a really nice one. I find that when I have the Keto Chow brand, I don't have to use quite as much in the egg white bread recipe. So anyways, let's get on topic because I'm ready for breakfast and work starts soon. So what I've got here is a little container of bacon grease. We'll use that in a minute. Let's start with our water. This is 1/4 cup water plus 1 tablespoon. I'm just going to put that in my bowl. To that, we add 1 tablespoon unflavored grass-fed beef gelatin. A lot of people ask what brand and all of those questions, and I'll tell you that I buy whichever of the 3 top ones that are the cheapest that week when I am buying it. This one happens to be the Amandine, but I've also purchased the Now brand and the Vital brand. So basically, you put your water in and you sprinkle your gelatin in so it can get a start on a bloom. You do not need it to fully bloom. So that's kind of like a bonus thing. You know, as we cook, we always get some stuff out of the way. So, and to this, the next thing we're going to add, actually, I'm a fibber, not the egg whites. We're going to add a skosh of salt. If you want to know what a skosh is, just a teensy bit, nothing too elaborate. Not even a half teaspoon, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon. That's personal preference. If you leave the salt out, it doesn't make a difference. It's kind of it helps the taste to me. And the other thing that I'm going to add, because I'm making a breakfast, is a little cap of the amaretti corn extract. I don't really know that it does anything, but right now, this is a good time to add your flavors. If you're making the egg white wraps that mimic the egg life ones, here's where you would add things like your tablespoon of everything but the bagel seasoning, or maybe some chives, or whatever flavor profile you're looking for. If you want to go sweet, you could add a little bit of allulose, which, by the way, would make them brown up a bit. And then, of course, you would add some of your cinnamon or whatever profile you were looking for. So, I like the way that smells. It has that light corn scent, but which is weird because I don't actually especially love corn, except for in certain applications. I like cornbread-ish. It has to be just right. So, the next thing is 3 tablespoons of the egg white protein powder. Do not worry. This is a very flexible recipe. You do not have to be like super meticulous about weighing. It's 3 tablespoons. The other thing about this recipe is I had initially noticed no one ever talked about scaling it up because one recipe only makes 3, maybe 4 wraps if you're making them very small. And I found that if I wanted more than one meal or to build them ahead of time, that to be inadequate. But it just scales by doubling. So if you want 6 wraps, you're going to do 2 tablespoons gelatin, a half cup plus 2 tablespoons, and 6 tablespoons of the egg white powder plus your additives. So the next thing I was going to show you is as this comes in, initially it looks like it's too dry and like it's just going to be dry clumps of gelatin and you're not going to know what to do with it. Do not stress about it because as you mix it, it will loosen up. And I will show you it does take a minute to mix it. And I don't know what the magic is that causes that to happen, but it does. And if it's lumpy, just keep mixing it and work those lumps through. It will batterify. And additionally, if you have a little bit of little gelatin lumps, also don't stress about that too much because as it cooks, they'll melt up a little bit. You do want to make sure that you get it out, get big pieces out. You don't want clumps, but like a little bit of like when you make like cake batter, and sometimes there's little, it looks like not 100% silky smooth, but it is definitely batter. You know what I'm saying. And if you don't, let me know and we can set up like a 1-to-1 and I'll show you right up close because it's a little harder to do when I want you to see all the things. So I have to be a little further away. Plus in my studio, it's not like being right up close at my office desk, all that fun stuff. And all of that blather was just so I could finish stirring and mixing this together. But as you can see when I showed you those clumps, now it's batter. Over here, I have some bacon grease that I've melted down. Last time we made crepes, I used butter. I wanted bacon grease today because I wanted to go away savory and also for breakfast. I will let you know what we're making in a moment. I wanted to make sure that I had that nice savory bacon greasy because I've got some eggs to cook. So I'm just going to take my grease and generously grease up my pan. You do need to be generous or the egg white stuff sticks like you wouldn't believe. In fact, you even as you're flipping, you add more grease to the pan, which seems weird because it's a very non-stick pan, but I promise you, if you don't grease it, things go awry. So just make sure you get a good quantity on here. Squish it all towards the center-ish where you're going to pour your batter. And here we go. The other things that I have is I have a crepe flipper and this little tea spinny thing, which I will show you in a minute. I'm sure that has a technical name. I do not know what it is, but here we go. And you can eyeball it. I try to just make it a nice size. And you don't want to throw too much down. I mean, if you want them bigger, but I do not. And you take your T-bar and you just spin it. You keep spinning it to spread out the batter. You do got to be a little efficient about it or the egg whites cook too fast and you stop spreading. Once you see that it's getting kind of thin, you want to try, and this one's not going to come out round. Just like any time, if you've ever made a tortilla or when you make pancakes, the first one always comes out weird, and I've never understood why. It's like and I've got a little blob off to the side. Just wonderful, Maitreya. But the first one always does that, and I don't know what kind of weird cosmic law that is. But wipe your little T-bar off. You'll see like around the edges, it'll start to curl up a little bit. It doesn't take long, but if it's too sticky, have some patience. Wait. It will come together. It will come off. So start scraping your spatula. That's why it's important to have one of these non-stick ones or the wooden ones. And suddenly it will start lifting. I haven't used the bacon grease very often, and for some reason it sticks a little more, but the taste is just worth it. So just be careful and be gentle and try to be patient. It's super hard to be patient. Super hard. And I wasn't patient enough, so I've got some sticking, but that's all right. We'll work with it. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to scrape the little pieces off that stuck so it doesn't impede me. I'm going to lift up my wrap on the spatula, throw down some more grease generously. And flip. Now it only takes a couple seconds, and it definitely won't stick this time around. I'm just going to get that little piece that lifted, grab these little crispies, throw them on my plate because they're completely edible. And one thing that's happening is that because my table's not level, it's that my grease is kind of going off to the side, so it's not necessarily helping me out here. I'm going to slide it just a little bit. Whoops, burnt myself. Not a lot. Now, this is an electric crepe maker. It's called a Cucina Pro. So, in case you are looking for one and you don't want to use a pan, I will tell you, I find it hard to flip in the pan. So, that's why I have the electric one. Anyways, you just wait a second. It doesn't take long at all. Grab your flipper. One quick roundabout. And there you go. One egg white wrap. I'm going to throw that on my plate. And I'm going to do something a little crazy over there. Not too crazy, just a little. And I'm going to take my cheese, which is a blend of cheeses. Normally, I would use a queso fresco or something, but I didn't have any. I'm not going to the store. And so I'm just using my standard shredded blend, which is all my leftovers from making cheese snacks. So I've got a little bit of extra sharp cheddar, a little bit of Gouda, a little bit of everything in there. And I just threw that on top of the first crepe. Slap down some more grease. And, you know, everything came right up, so there's no more egg white on it. My grease is staying more in the center now, which is good. And number 2 of the egg white wraps. If you want to make them bigger, you can. You can do that. It's not the end of the world. But take your tea. It's tilting again, so let me move it. And just start spreading it out. I noticed that a lot of people do struggle with these. Just, you know, plunk it in the center and just twist. It's not like a spatula where you spread out and pat at it. It's a twisting motion. There are other crepe spreaders, and these ones we make a little thicker because we're looking for wraps, not crepes. So, you know, you don't have to be like super speedy, just speedy enough to make sure that you're going to cook it all the way through. This one came out much nicer, very roundish. Okay, one side's not roundish, but not too bad. I always wipe it off in between spins too so that it doesn't get stuck. I'm going to do a little more greasy tilting to get that little sizzle around the edge going. This is the advantage, by the way, of having the crepe maker that I make, is there's a little rim on it, and most crepe makers don't have that. I find it very advantageous. But, you know, again, that's me. And I can see here it's starting to be more done. This one I made a little thicker, so it's going to take a little longer. I have some little bits here to scrape at. Just, again, just have some patience. It'll all come together. I promise you it will. It is hard. They do stick. And I noticed that Indigo Nilis do not stick like as much. And I don't know why, but here you can see already this one's definitely lifting. All of a sudden it started being a whole lot easier. I say that and then I come to this edge where it's not. But just some light patience, that's all you need. Grab it, lift it up, throw down your next little bit of grease. You do have to keep doing that. It's not really optional. Give it a good smear where you're going to put it down and flip. And you probably don't necessarily even have to be as fussy as I am. I just get weird and I like all my little stuff to come up off of the pan. Let's just give that a second. And this is wrap number 2. The other thing I'm going to do while we're waiting for this one to finish is I have my heated up leftover, heated up enchilada sauce. I got myself a 1/2 cup so that I know what I'm putting in my macros. And I'm going to take one little spoon and put it here in the middle. Just to have it all set up. I just felt like that was a nice plan for me. And this one is thicker than the first one I put down. I did that so that you could see that you can make them thicker like the ones from the package. Oops, dripping. And again, they're totally nice. They're totally lovely and pliable. So you're all set. Throw that here, right on top of the other one. You know what we're doing next, right? Have you figured out what I'm making? I'm just going to tell you that it's the huevos rancheros. What that translates to is rancher's eggs. And a lot of recipes will do all kinds of things. And actually the sauce is maybe a little different, but not vastly so. So this is a perfect substitute. It's very similar in profile. Huevos rancheros would a lot of times be made with some serranos. And as you know, we didn't use a serrano. So, but I'm cool with that. It's still delicious. And the taste is just about the same. I don't have any objections. I'm going to put grease and then we're going to make our last crepe. I say crepe. It's not a crepe. It's a wrap. 6 of 1/2 dozen. It's exactly the same. One is maybe a little thinner than the other. But honestly, when you're making these, you're not exactly going to be that exact and practiced. I mean, since this is Indigo Nili's recipe, she's obviously made them a ton more times than I have and than you have. So that is part of why hers are maybe a little bit nicer from the shape profile. I also don't know what she has for, I'm going to spread that a little more. I don't know what she has for her griddle, but I really love it and I would like to get my hands on one. Although I don't know what I really need any more kitchen appliances for. I've got like ridiculous everything. So you just scrape the last of your batter. And if your batter sits for a long time because you're doing other things or you wait in between and it gets a little too jellified, you are not stuck with that. Give a hard mix. And I mean that sincerely. You really go at it with your spatula and mix it up and it will reliquefy. It is a thicker batter, so keep that in mind. Just give me a second here while I watch this, while I am spreading it out. I wanted to make at least one that was really extra specially nice and curved. And this will do it. And like I said, with these, you're just barely spinning it from the middle. You're just twisting it, not spreading, twisting. And there you go. And I'm just going to pat that little bit of batter off onto it. One last wipe. Because it doesn't matter, because now I'll wash it with the dishes. Give my grease a little bit of a... I don't normally have to spread the grease around like this by tilting the pan, because my kitchen counter is very level, but my studio table is evidently very much not level. Actually, I'd like to replace it because it has like a ridge in the middle. But, you don't have to make everything all extra crazy. So let me just put my dirty dishes aside. We don't need any more of the bacon grease. Well, no, I won't. So we'll cover that back up and it can go back on the stove top or back into the jar. Wipe my fingers a little. And here we go with this last egg life wrap or egg white wrap. I keep saying the name brand, but you know, eventually they might get irritated by that. You know what? I lied. I put my bacon grease away and I probably do need more. Oh, whoops, I tore it. That can happen once in a while. Just come back around and give some patience. Boy, I have to give a lot of patience. It's so hard because I'm not a patient person and I want to hurry. But, you know what they say about hurrying and rushing. And I have enough grease on here, but it's not in the right spot. So I'm just going to do that again where I tilt it to the middle before I flip it. And voila, our last wrap. I'm a little off center, but I'm not going to worry about that. Sometimes I want to, even though there's zero reason to do so because the entire surface is evenly heated. So, but if you try and slide it before it's done cooking, it sticks. So you just have to have that whole patience, sort of like cooking fish. You know, they always say that like on TV, and it's so hard not to fiddle with it while you put it in the pan. But it's true. You just have to actually exude some patience and let stuff sit. See, one thing I did was I didn't get my crepe pan all the way heated. I had the thermostat on it turned way down. You should know that that's something too, is that this crepe pan, this Cucina Pro, can do other things, and it has a little slider, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I forgot to pay attention to that, and it should have been on the 3, which might have made it stick a little bit less. So those are good things. But patiently waiting, patiently. Oh, I know. Let's have some coffee, right? It was perfect this morning because I used my AeroPress for my first cup. And then I just have some in the drip maker for later when I don't care about it being spectacular and I just need coffee. Actually, I might bring the drip maker down for one of our live streams and we'll just do like a whole drip pot so that you can see that I'm not bougie all the time. That sometimes we just say screw it. And there you go. One last wrap. You can see, again, just like the first one, perfectly pliable and soft. And if you're wondering, can you batch cook these and keep them? Yes, you can put them with a parchment and they will be 100% delightful when you reheat them. You just toss them onto the pan. Throw me another little batch of cheese. I know it's a lot of cheese, but who doesn't love cheese, right? Well, I know there are people who don't, and there are people watching this right now who don't eat cheese, and they're like me, I don't love cheese, or cheese doesn't love me. I'm gonna take the little Crispies. So, sorry, but I love cheese. And so what I've got now is 3 eggs. Oh, that's what I bought this pan for. These are my friend's farm fresh eggs, and I'm running low. Oh, I'm forgetting where I'm putting stuff. When I'm cooking upstairs, I have a bowl that I use for my compost, and I keep meaning to I'm going to toss them over there, but really, I brought my little refuse container right here, so the eggs can go. Ran out of space. So I'm just going to fry up these eggs. No worries, no muss, no fuss. Well, maybe a little fuss. Boy, they're sticking. You know what the answer to sticking eggs. And that's also the main reason I wanted the bacon grease. Because I wanted to get that nice tasty flavor into my eggs. You know that the best eggs are the ones that are cooked with the bacon grease. Just a little more on there. And of course, because I am a high-fat sort of keto person, because of the seizures, I am not shy about using my grease. If too much grease bothers you, you probably want a regular pan. Oh, there it is. I have an egg spatula. The correct one is not really that great for flipping eggs. Get in here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm like the worst at egg flipping. Like, they'll probably wind up partially scrambled just because I am terrible at it. As I stated. But I didn't bust the yolk. So there we go. Bonus. This one's on the edge. So let's see. And they did stick to this pan. That's why I don't like to use this one. I like my cast iron because it's like everything slips off, no problem whatsoever. I don't know. What about you? Leave in the comments. Are you an expert at flipping eggs, or are you like me where they sort of, well, they worked, all right? We have eggs. That's what matters. Don't overcook your eggs. I mean, or do if you like them that way. I like mine nice and runny. Actually, my preferred is over medium, where the yolk is super, super runny, but the egg whites are totally done and not snotty. Even when you say it, it sounds not great, right? Snotty. Who likes snotty eggs? But I shouldn't judge because I know my kid likes them like that. They like them barely cooked. And it is just not for me. No, not at all. See what I mean about being slippery now? Now it's extra slippery. Be careful if you don't have hands that are used to touching hot things, because you see me touching these with my fingers. It is hot, and it does burn just a smidge. And some stuff did cook onto it, because it just does. But look, it's all coming right off. There we go. And then I'll come after this with a paper towel and a little damp wipe down, and it'll all be back to sparkling clean and brand new looking. Easy peasy. Dirty dish. Let me unplug it to turn it off. And where did my salt go? Here. I like a little extra salt on the eggs. That is your choice. Some people will also add black pepper, but I find that I don't need that. I'm going to do my sauce now. There you go. You just pour your sauce right over. Nice and steaming warm. I'm running out of places to put things. And then the one last piece of cheese, right? And there you go. Except for that I use blended cheese instead of the cojita. This would be a very traditional dish in the rural Southwest. Like, you'd be looking down near the Tucson area, Silver City, New Mexico, Deming, New Mexico, El Paso, Texas. This is what you would get. Usually with a side of rice and beans, maybe even some other tortillas, even though you'd have the corn tortilla already. But there you go. And a lot of people do put beans in there with their huevos rancheros, and you'll see that in a lot of recipes. I skipped that. I don't need it, and I didn't have it growing up, so it was a side dish, not mixed in. So up to you. And if you are keto like me, you don't eat beans anyways anymore. So you could make a substitute, which we'll do sometime. But if you want the best substitute, there's a Pinchy Nancy. Her YouTube is phenomenal, and she Made the refried beans using the eggplant, which I hate eggplant. So I use zucchini instead. But fantastic. And it's really good if that was something that you were used to as a staple. And when you cut into this, you see my delightful runny egg yolk and all of that's deliciousness blending in with the cheese and everything else. I'm going to put a bite that is way too big into my mouth because I can hardly wait. It just takes me back. I cannot tell you how happy I am. And I hope that you would enjoy it just as well. Spectacular. And I cannot tell you how glad I am that my sauce came out yesterday. Sometimes it's not always perfect. It's perfect most of the time. But yesterday, it's just spot on. I got it. So that is everything today. I know this was a way longer than usual video. So I'm sorry for the length, but I hope you stuck it out. And give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit the bell icon. You know, all that YouTube stuff that you're supposed to do. Well, I guess you don't have to supposed to, but it's nice if you do. And spread it around. And we'll get together again on Friday. And then don't forget our live stream on Sunday. I'm going to walk you through what like a simple coffee tasting would be. And we'll be cooking something up fun. See you then. Bye-bye.